And little mouse blinks strategically, mouse hole. And of course, blink, very easy for him because he got inside his hole. He made a wonderful strategy. He knew which is the safest place for him where the pilot could never ever get him. And he went inside the mouse hole. But up jumped Custard, snorting like an engine. The only person who confronted the dragon was Custard. Custard, the one whom they considered to be a coward. He was the only person who confronted the pirate. What did he do? He attacked. He moved towards the pirate, snorting like an engine. Like an engine makes a great sound. Similarly, very angrily, he moves towards the pirate as if he's going to attack the pirate. Clashed his tail like irons in a dungeon. And he was so angry that in his anger, he was moving his tail both the side. Clear? And the tail was so heavy that they were making sound, just like the sounds which are made by the chains in a dungeon. What is a dungeon? An underground prison. In an underground prison, the prisoners were tied with big chains, huge chains. And when they moved, those chains made a clashing sound. Similarly, when Custard, it had ran towards the pirate to attack the pirate, its tail was moving, its tail was hitting the ground this side and that side because of anger, and it seemed to be making that same large sound which the clashing of the chains make. With a clatter and a clank and a jangling squirm, and twisting his body from side to side. This line, that is what it means. It moved because it's a huge animal, a dragon. So when it moves his body, like it seems to be moving from side to side. For the pirate. Why? Normally, if somebody dies, it feels bad. Oh, Bichara. Even if a culprit or a thief, he dies a bad death, even if you know he's a bad person, but you feel a little bad. Oh, that is not the way he should have died. But nobody felt bad for the pirate. Ink and Blink in Glee did Gyrate. And what were Ink and Blink doing? They were so happy, so very happy, so amused that they were gyrating. That is, they were moving in circular motion, round and round and round to show their happiness that finally, they had got rid of the pirate. Around the dragon that ate the pirate. They were moving round and round the dragon. So finally, what had happened? The dragon had killed the pirates, clear, and each one of them was very very happy with the dragon. They appreciated the efforts, and the good work of the dragon. Literally, initially, clear, and they were very happy with the fact that he had killed the pirate. But presently up spoke little dog Mustard. But then after a little while, when their happiness was over, fine, and after a few minutes, when they realize what are they doing, they are praising this person, that is the dragon, so much, the same dragon whom they used to make fun of. So there was complete change in their attitude after a little while. But presently up spoke little dog Mustard. I would have been twice as brave if I hadn't been flustered. He says, well, you did a brave thing, but then if I had not been flustered means confused. If I had not been confused, I could have been twice as brave as you. So indirectly, he's trying to tell the dragon, you don't have to brag and you don't have to feel great about what you have done. Because even I could have done it if I had not got confused. The only thing is that I got a little confused and I didn't really know what to do. And upspoke Ink and upspoke Blink, we'd have been thrice times as brave, we think. And Blink and Ink also did not want to stay behind, otherwise they thought that probably now it would be their turn to be made fun of. So they also bragged. They also said, oh, twice as brave. We think we could have been thrice as brave, as the dragon. And Custard said, I quite agree. And Custard did not say anything. Now it was Custard's time. He could have teased those people. He could have told those people when the true testing time came, all of you ran away. You are the real cowards. But then he was such a big hearted and such a magnanimous person that he did not say anything. And he just told them, yes, yes, don't worry. I agree with you that you all are brave. And you can call me as a coward. So what does it tell us? People who are really brave, people who are really heroic, people who are really courageous, they don't go and brag. Clear? Normally it is said empty vessels make more sound. It is always people, who are empty from inside, who don't have these positive qualities. They are the ones who are normally bragging all around, who are showing off that they are what they are actually not. Clear? And people who really have these, positive traits inside them, they never go and brag, because it is their actions which show how good they are, how brave they are. They don't need to brag about it. And Custard said, I quite agree that everybody is braver than me. He said, yes, yes, don't worry. I agree. I still continue. I hold the same stance that you people are. Each one of you is braver than I am. Belinda still lives in her little white house with a little black kitten and little grey mouse. And Belinda continues to live in the same house, in the same manner, with the same dog, with the same mouse, with the same kitten. And her little yellow dog and her little red wagon, clear? And she has that yellow dog also, and she has a red wagon also, and a really truly little pet dragon. And she also has that little pet dragon living along with her. Belinda is as brave as a barrel full of beers, and Ink and Blink chase lions down the stairs. Mustard is as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard keeps crying for a nice safe cage. Clear? And even after that episode of The Pirate, where it was proved who really, who is brave in real life and who are cowards. words. But still, again, once that had happened, initially, yes, they appreciated him, but then later on, they again claimed that they could have been braver than him, if they had not got confused and all those things. And thereafter also, it's not that thereafter, they looked up to him or they respected him. Life continued in the same manner. They kept on bragging, they kept on claiming that they are all very, very strong and all very heroic and courageous, and they kept on making fun of the dragon, clear, and life continued in the same manner. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is Aditya? Aditya, are you there? I can't see him.
Ma'am, he is in the class.
He's there?
Yes.
Okay. Aditya, I'm very worried about you, beta. पता नहीं क्या करोगे. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
where did Blink and Mustard ran?
Blink. He see. Mustard. He just got inside the house. He hid somewhere. Clear? See, it's written over here. Mustard fled with a terrified yelp. He must have gone somewhere inside the house, which particular place is not given to us, and trickled down to the bottom of ink, trickled down to the bottom of the household. Ink must have gone, to the very bottom of the household, from where nobody can find him. And obviously, Blink, because Mouse lives in a hole, so he went inside the hole. So indirectly, they went and hid themselves in places where they thought the pirate would not be able to find them and harm them.
Okay, ma'am.
Done?
Excuse me, ma'am.
हाँ बोलो बेटा.
Ma'am, there was this line in the poem, Belinda tickled him unmerciful. So, what does the word unmerciful signify?
Unmercifully, see, making fun of people. Clear? Basically, it means making fun. But if you keep on making fun of people, okay, I make fun of you, you can tolerate it for a little while. But then if regularly on a constant basis, I and my group of friends keep making fun of you, what is going to happen? Is your attitude going to be the same? After a while, you'll start feeling bad about it. You might also get angry about it. And yet, I do not take any mercy on you. I don't think from your point of view. I don't realize how bad you might be feeling about it. Unmercifully, I go on and on and on.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Any other question? No? All right. Take out which is the next. Animals. Page number 53. Okay. I think I could turn and live with animals. Okay. The poet tells us that he feels more at home with animals than humans, whom he finds complicated and false. In this poetry, the poet, Walt Whitman, he is, trying to tell us the characteristics of man and the characteristics of animals. Clear? See, normally what happens is man prefers man's company. You find your friends within, amongst the men. Clear? And Obviously, animals would prefer their company. But here the poet is trying to tell us that he would prefer to live in the company of animals. Why does he say that? He's trying to tell us that, he would like to live in the company of animals because the character traits, which normally you seek in a human being, are no longer found in the human beings, and on the contrary you can find such character traits in the animals. So he says it's better to live with the animals rather than live with the human beings. Clear? I think I could turn and live with animals. They're so placid and self-contained. He said, I think, I've come to the opinion that I could leave my friendship with the human beings. I could de-associate myself with the human beings, and I would like to get myself associated with the animals. Why? What reason he gave? He says they're so placid, they're so calm, they're so composed, unlike the human beings today. Human beings today, they have become so very all the time, they are so much in rage. Clear? At the drop of a hat, any very very small matter, they flare up, they become very enraged. They don't seem to have, any sort of placidity in them. That is, no, they don't have any composure in them. Even very very small things get them very flustered. Fine. So he says, I don't think, and they are self contained and they're happy with whatever they have. Unlike the human beings who are always winning, who are all WHINNING. Winning means complaining. Clear? What are they complaining about? They're complaining about, I don't have this, I don't have this, people are not good to me, God has not been kind to me. That is, they're never happy with what they have. And these are the qualities: being calm, being composed, being wise, being modest, being happy with whatever you have, being self content. These qualities should have been found in the human beings, but today they don't exist in the human beings. Human beings are, they've become very, very uncomposed. They've, lost their composure, they've lost the calmness in them, they've lost their wisdom, they've lost their modesty, and they're never happy, they're never satisfied with whatever they have, and they're always complaining. And obviously you don't like to be with people who are always complaining about something or the other. You don't like to live with people who, don't have a very calm sort of composure, who are, ready to get angry, and who are ready to fight all the time. Clear? And these qualities, if he can see anywhere, it is in the animals. And this is the reason why he says that I would rather live with the animals than with the human beings. I stand and look at them long and long. He says, I can stand and I can look into the animals for a long, long time. Whom can you look at for a long, long time? Only someone or something which you appreciate. Clear? If I don't like something, I'm not going to look at that thing. If you don't like a movie, fine, you might have watched it once, but you're never again going to watch it. But if you like a movie a lot, there are chances that you might watch it again. Once, twice, thrice also you might, watch the same movie. So he says, I can stand and I can look at the animals for long and long. That shows his appreciation for the animals. That shows how much, he holds the animals in high esteem. He really respects, he really loves those animals. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. Sweat and whine means complain. Unlike the human beings, we are always complaining about everything. We are complaining about our surroundings. Look at Delhi, so much of pollution, so much of filth and dirt. Who's doing that pollution? Who's responsible for the pollution? Who's responsible for the filth and dirt? We are responsible. Clear? This is happening, that is happening, or I don't have this, and my friend is more rich than me, he has this, she has this. You're always, no matter what you have, you are always complaining about everything. You're never satisfied with your life. whereas all these things cannot be found in the animals. They are happy, they're self-content with whatever they have. They never complain about anything, even if they don't have anything. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. And they don't lie awake in the dark and weep for the sins. That means they don't have a guilty conscience. Who has a guilty conscience? A person who does something wrong has a guilty conscience. When they have not done anything wrong, why would they have guilty conscience? And it is a fact. If a person has a guilty conscience, he is not able to sleep. He'll never get a peaceful sleep. Clear? See what happens with these big thieves and burglars. They don't get a peaceful sleep. Why don't they get a peaceful sleep? Because of the fear. Which fear? Fear of getting caught. Fear of what, how God is going to treat them. Any fear they can have. So they're not able to sleep peacefully. And what are the human beings doing? First, they commit something wrong. They do a sin or they commit a crime. Clear? And then the entire night they are not able to sleep. Why? They're crying for their sins. In a way, in the darkness of the night, they're recalling all the bad deeds that they have done, and probably they are wishing out, and they're crying to God to forgive them. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. And he says the animals don't make me sick. What do the human beings do? They boast. What do they boast about? Their duty to God. They pretend to be very, very righteous people. Clear? People who are the true followers of God, who do all as is expected by God to do them. Clear? And they claim that they are the true followers of God, whereas animals do not do anything like that. Fine, they don't claim to be, righteous people, but they are righteous people. Human beings claim to be righteous people, and they are not. Human beings claim to, be great followers of God, and they'll worship God, day and night. And on the contrary, they do all sorts of wrong things. And see the opposite, vice versa. The animals, they never, pray to God, and on the contrary, they are the ones who do the right things. They do the things, they behave in a manner God would like them to behave. No one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. And he says, no one is dissatisfied. Man, he's running behind materialistic things. He's in a rat race. Rat race for what? Rat race for materialistic things. He's got a mania of materialistic things. He wants more and more and more. Clear? And when he gets that more, he wants even more. If he gets that even more, he wants all the more. So he's never ever satisfied. He's got this, he's sick somewhere in the mind, and he keeps on wanting and wanting. His wants are never satisfied, no matter how much he gets. Is that clear? No one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. But unlike the human beings, the animals, none of them, not even one of them, ever thinks of, having any sort of possession with them. They don't even bother about the materialistic things. They live in harmony with nature, and they live in harmony with each other. They're very happy, they're very, very satisfied with whatever they have in their life. Clear? Everybody is treated equal, and everybody is looked upon each other, at the same level. No one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Plus, they practice so much of equality, unlike the human beings. We are divided in, so many ways. It could be caste, it could be creed, it could be color, it could be religion. Clear? It could be on the basis of our, being rich or poor. There are so many divisions amongst the human beings. And we human beings have a tendency to worship each other. Clear? It could be worshipping someone from the present or worshipping someone who existed in the past, heroic people who existed in the past, or rich people who existed in the past. Today, there's a culture of worshipping rich people. We consider them to be very, very great. Why? Because they have a lot of money. So this culture exists among the human beings, but not among the animals. Everybody is considered to be equal amongst the animals. Neither do they worship anybody, anyone amongst them in the present, nor do they worship anybody amongst them who had lived years and years ago. Clear? That is in the past. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. And not a single one of them is unhappy. They're all happy. They're all very, very content, and they're all living very peacefully with each other. Clear? They are surviving with each other. And they don't hold grudges against each other. None of them is considered, below the other animal. Everybody is at parity with each other. And so he says that is the reason. These are the qualities which I'm looking for in human beings. But I don't find these qualities in the human beings. And on the contrary, I find all these qualities in the animals. And that is the reason I would prefer to live with the animals rather than with the human beings. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their position. He says they bring me tokens of myself, those qualities which I'm looking for in myself or I'm looking for in other human beings. I'm not able to find them. Clear? And where am I able to find all those qualities? Who possesses all those humanly qualities? All those humanly qualities I can find in the animals. And that is the obvious reason why he says that I can go on, gazing at them. I can go on looking at them for hours and hours and hours. And I would prefer to have their company rather than have the company of any other human being. I wonder where they get those tokens from. But the big question is from where they get those tokens. Tokens means qualities, isn't it? Normally, a man is considered to be very wise and very refined in his nature and very, wise in his character, isn't it? And animals are considered to be very wild and very, very savage. But today, what has happened? Opposite. You'll find, all the wildness, all the savagery in the animals, and you'll find the placidness, and you'll find the modesty and wisdom in the animals. So he says, from where did they get the qualities which were supposed to be found in human beings? How is it happens that these qualities have got interchanged? Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? He's not able to, Walt Whitman is not able to, come to the conclusion how did the animals start possessing all these heavenly qualities. When God created animals and when God created man, he gave all heavenly qualities to man and he made animals a little savage. Clear? But over a period of time, the qualities got interchanged. And the poet is asking how. I wonder how the qualities have got interchanged. And then he's guessing. At last, he gives a guess. He says, could it be that man was passing by and very, very negligently, he was not at all careful. And, by mistake, he dropped all his qualities. They fell down on the ground and the animals quickly picked away the qualities. Clear? So this is the way, according to Walt Whitman, man, in his greed for more materialistic possessions, in his greed for power, in his greed for money, has overlooked all these qualities. Clear? He's never bothered about these qualities. These qualities don't matter to him anymore. So he's somehow, he's got rid of these qualities, clear? And he's become very, very materialistic. He's become very mean. He's become very self-centered. And, he's always running behind money. And yet he never seems to be satisfied. Clear? And he pretends to be very, very caring and very, very friendly, but then he doesn't care about, or he doesn't care about anybody except himself. Fine, he's got rid of all those virtues, all those qualities. And meanwhile, the animals have, quickly gathered all those qualities. And the qualities which we look for in human beings can now be found in the animals. And that is the reason why he says that I would prefer to live with the animals. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? Anything? Human beings, perfect human beings as, really they have visioned you to turn out to be. And that is the way they are trying to chisel you. They are trying to give you a shape so that you turn out to be a beautiful human being. But then on the part of the children, they feel very bad that they're always nagged by the parents, and the parents always seem to find some fault on the or the other in whatever they are doing. So this poetry is about a girl called Amanda. Clear? She had very peculiar behavior and mannerisms, and she had her own lifestyle which her mother did not like. And so the mother was always, nagging her. Clear? And that's true. Parents do nag, and they should nag, but to a certain extent, not for everything. That is not right. After all, a child is a human being. Clear? It's not a tree that you can really clip and you can really cut and you can give the shape that you want. A little freedom should be given to every individual. But then, yes, as children, it is the duty of the parents to tell you what is right, what is wrong, what should be done, what should not be done. Fine. Don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't haunch your shoulders, Amanda. Stop slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. See, in the first stanza itself, one, two, three, there are three things the mother is always nagging her about. Don't bite your nails. Probably she had the habit of biting her nails, so her mother was always telling her, don't bite your nails. And this is a universal truth. Example, there are so many children who have the habit of biting nails, and parents or anybody else who sees children biting nails would always tell the children not to bite the nails. Don't haunch your shoulders, Amanda. Some children, they have the habit of haunching their shoulders. What is going to happen if you haunch your shoulders all the time? You'll get a bad posture. Clear? You would not look as smart as you should look as you grow up. Clear? So that is the reason why, the mother is always nagging her and telling her to keep her shoulders straight and stop slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. Something which you people are doing these days, since you have online classes. Most of the time you're sitting on your bed, and your posture has, even your posture has got completely, destroyed, and you tend to slouch. Obviously, if you sit in a bed and study, what's going to happen? You're not going to sit straight all the time. Slowly, 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 you have pillows behind you, and you'll take that posture, that easy posture. So these were the things she was always doing, and her mother was always nagging her about it. There is a language, Emerald Sea, where the sole inhabitant is me, a mermaid drifting blissfully. But Amanda, she had got so fed up of her mother nagging her all the time that, at times she would just shut her mind off. It seemed as if she was not even bothered about what her mother was saying. It seemed as if, she didn't even care what her mother was saying. And in fact, she's not even listening to what her mother is saying. Clear? So when the mother was nagging her, what would she imagine? She would imagine a languid, a green blue sea. Clear? Very, very peaceful and very, very beautiful. And she imagined herself to be a mermaid, and very, very peacefully, all by herself, nobody around her. Very peacefully, she would keep on drifting. Clear? See how the peace in the Emerald Sea is, contrasted with the constant nagging of her mother, because the mother is always nagging her all the time, kit, 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 saying something or the other to her. That is why she's imagining a very, very peaceful sea where nobody's all around her. Clear? And she's just drifting along with the waves. She's just moving along with the waves all by herself. And she doesn't get to hear those nagging words of her mother. Did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. Once again, these were the different reasons. She probably seemed to be a very, very careless girl. So, mother had to remind her all the time whether she had done her homework, whether she had tidied up her room, whether she had kept her things in places. Clear? So, mother was always after her life, telling her to do this and telling her to do that. I'm an orphan roaming the street. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. And she would completely switch off herself, and she would start imagining something else. She wished she was an orphan. Clear? She didn't realize that if mother was nagging her, mother was also taking care of her. On the contrary, because there was so much of excessive nagging, she wished it would be better if she was an orphan. Why? In that way, at least nobody would nag her. So, what if she didn't have a house? She would keep walking on the streets, leaving behind the patterns with her feet. Clear? But at least she would live in peace. At least there would be no mother who would keep nagging her all the time. And she would have freedom to do whatever she likes, the way she likes it. Clear? And everybody loves freedom. There's nothing as sweet as freedom. Don't eat the chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? And then, probably she had a lot of acne. And so obviously her mother used to tell her not to eat so many chocolates. Clear? And then, Amanda was so fed up of her mother nagging her all the time that she would not even look at her mother when the mother was scolding her. Why? You know, when a child is not looking at you when you are scolding, the child is trying to convey to you, I'm not taking care of your nagging, and I don't care. And that is why I'm not looking at you. Clear? So, mother was always taking care of her mother. Indirectly, when the child is not looking at you, that is what the child is trying to continue, trying to tell you, or the child is trying to tell you that, I'll continue to do whatever I want. You may say whatever you like. So basically the child is trying to show his or her indifference. And so obviously the mother, obviously, when I am talking to you, I would like you to look at me. When you are talking to me, I would like you would like me to look at you. That is the obvious thing. If you're talking to me, ma'am, you're telling me something, ma'am, and I look the other way. What does that show? That shows that I'm not interested. Yes, Tashvi, leave. That shows that I am not interested. Clear? And that is really bad. So we would like to look at each other when, we are talking to each other. But Amanda refuses to look at her mother, and her mother realizes why she's not looking at her, and her mother shouts at her and tells her, when I'm talking to you, you ought to listen to me. I'm Rapunzel. I have not a care. Life in a tower is tranquil and rare. I'll certainly never let down my bright hair. And she starts wishing, that she lives a life where she doesn't have a parent, especially not her mother. And she wishes, she lives up in a tower like Rapunzel. Clear? Rapunzel, it's a story about Rapunzel who was taken by a demon, up there on the tower. Fine. And she could not find her way out of the tower, and she had very long hair, and she had let down her hair through the window of the tower, and that is how the prince had climbed up, and that is how she had been able to save. But she thinks that even if she's locked up there in the tower, she's never going to do the mistake of letting her hair down. Why? Because she would not like anybody to come and rescue her. She would prefer to be up there in the tower all by herself, secluded. Clear? No, she didn't want her mother to be with her, even if it meant that it would be very dangerous for her up there. But still, she preferred to live her life all by herself. Clear? Far away from her mother. Why? Because she was really fed up of the nagging of her mother. Stop that sulking at once, Amanda. You're always so moody, Amanda. Anybody would think that I nagged you, Amanda. And then, again the mother nagging her, because it's very obvious. If you keep getting scolded all the day, what are you going to do? You're going to sulk. You'll roam around with a big face, a big long face. Why? Because everybody is scolding you all the time. Clear? And then how cheerful. It's like hitting a person, clear, and then asking the person not to cry. It's very obvious. So, she keeps nagging her, and then she tells that slouchy face, bring a smile on your face. Otherwise, people will think that I am nagging you. Clear? But the truth is, the mother is nagging her. Is she doing something correct? Nagging is correct, but only to a very certain limits. Clear? Not nagging a child all the time, because when you nag a child all the time, instead of trying to bring out positive changes in a child, you tend to bring too much of negativity, too much of pessimism in a child. Clear? So you should leave a child to take small decisions on his or her own part. But then, yes, to a certain extent, it is the duty of the parents to guide the children, to tell them about what is wrong and right, to tell them what is good and bad. Clear? And likewise, obviously, it is also the duty of the children to not give such chances to the parents to keep nagging them all the time, to understand whatever guidelines they are getting from the parents. Clear? So if she wishes to be Rapunzel, or she wishes to be an orphan, or she wishes, yes, or she wishes to be a mermaid, there is a reason. And what is the reason? She just wants to escape. Escape from what? She's not rude. She just wants to escape from the constant nagging of her mother. Clear? Because she is being nagged all the time. She doesn't have, that peace of mind. And that is the reason why she wants to, do all these things. Why she wishes to be an orphan also. Clear?
Yes,
All right, then in the next class also, I'm going to do poetry. All of you come, join.
Bye, ma'am.
The other poems are all small, so we'll be able to do them. All right, bye, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Beta. Thank you, all of you.
Bye. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Bye.